All right. Happy Saturday, y'all. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Enjoying the short weeks if you don't. Next week should be short as well. I'm about to start on chapter 3 of Lindsay Gibson's Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. I hope that you've been following along with us. Um, Continuing chapter 3. So we almost finished it last week, but I realized that my recordings need to cut off at the 30-minute mark unless I just upload two. So, okay. So we are in chapter 3, page 61. We've gone over, so the chapter is called How It Feels to Have a Relationship with an EI Parent. And in Lindsay's second book, she actually expands this to EI people, EIPs. So she changes it from emotionally immature parent to emotionally immature person, really understanding and extrapolating that this could be someone in your life that is, a friend, a colleague, a coworker, just people in your life. It doesn't have to be your parent. And one of the things that I've touched on, I think almost every video, is that it feels kind of deceitful in a way, right? To read a book like this, because most of us, I know I do, you love your parents. And so how could you ever see them in this light? What Lindsay says in one of her previous chapters is that your thoughts about your parents are private. So I think that's kind of cool in the sense that she's giving you the liberty to take a few steps back and be objective. And whether that's your parent or somebody else in your life that is emotionally immature, or even yourself. I mean, you can read this and see pieces of yourself in here. So I think it's okay, right? It's okay to read it. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with what's going on or that you have to go and tell that person that you think those things about them. When we get into chapter 8, she will tell us so now we know what an EIP is. What do you do about it? How do you fix your relationship or have a relationship with that person? So we'll get there. If you're still with me, I appreciate you being with me and thank you for being patient. And we're going to continue and we'll keep talking as we go along. So thanks. All right. Much ado about nothing. How it feels to have a relationship with an EI parent. They seek enmeshment, not emotional intimacy. Although emotional intimacy and enmeshment can look superficially similar, these two styles of interaction are very different. In emotional intimacy, two individuals with fully articulated selves enjoy getting to know each other at a deep level, building emotional trust through mutual acceptance. In the process of getting to know each other, they discover and even cherish differences between them. Emotional intimacy is invigorating and energizes people toward personal growth as they enjoy the interest and support of another person. In enmeshment, on the other hand, two emotionally immature people seek their identity and self-completion through an intense dependent relationship. Bowen, 1978. Through this enmeshed relationship, they create a sense of certainty, predictability, and security that relies on the reassuring familiarity of each person playing a comfortable role for the other. If one person tries to step out of the implicit bounds of the relationship, the other often experiences great anxiety that's only eased by a return to the prescribed role. Playing favorites. Enmeshment sometimes manifests as playing favorites. Libby, 2010. It can be hard to watch your parent give attention to a preferred sibling, making you wonder why your parent never showed that kind of interest in you. But obvious favoritism isn't a sign of a close relationship. It's a sign of enmeshment. It's likely that the preferred sibling has a psychological maturity level similar to your parents'. Low levels of emotional maturity pull people into mutual enmeshment, especially if they are a parent and child. Remember, emotionally immature parents relate on the basis of roles, not individuality. If you had an independent, self-reliant personality, your parent wouldn't have seen you as a needy child for whom he or she could play the role of rescuing parent. Instead, you may have been pegged as the child without needs, the little grown-up. It wasn't some sort of insufficiency in you that made your parent pay more attention to your sibling, Rather, it's likely that you weren't dependent enough to trigger your parents' enmeshment instincts. Interestingly, self-sufficient children who don't spur their parents to become enmeshed are often left alone to create a more independent and self-determined life. Therefore, they can achieve a level of self-development exceeding that of their parents. In this way, not getting attention can actually pay off in the long run. But in the meantime, high-functioning children still have the pain of feeling left out as their parent pours energy into emotional enmeshment with one or more siblings. Enmeshment can take the form of either dependency or idealization. In dependent enmeshment, the child is maladjusted and the parent plays the role of either rescuer or victim. In idealized enmeshment, the parent indulges a favorite child as though that child is more important and deserving than the other kids. However, this traps the idealized favorite child in an ironclad role, so that child isn't experiencing any true emotional intimacy either. Heather's story. Heather had always longed for her mother's interest and attention, but had never received it, while her elder sister, Marlo, was the clear favorite. Heather was particularly hurt when her mother enthusiastically reported how, on a recent visit, she and Marlo had just talked and talked and talked. About what? Heather asked. Oh, just what she was doing and what she wants to do. Heather's heart felt pierced because she had always wished for those kinds of conversations with her mother, but it had never happened. Another time, at a holiday gathering, Heather watched with dismay as her mother fluttered around Marlo with an adoring look and volunteered to sit on an uncomfortable chair so Marlo could have a nice seat. Mark's story. Mark's father, Don, clearly preferred Mark's younger brother, Brett, helping him financially and calling him his baby. When Mark's father died, at the funeral, Mark's uncle remembered how hard Don had been on Mark, punishing him harshly for no good reason. You were the best one, his uncle told him. I couldn't understand why he was so tough on you. Mark was an independent, intelligent child who was never dependent on his father. They couldn't enmesh, so Don turned to Brett, who was more emotionally immature. Finding substitute family members. Emotionally immature parents can act out their need for enmeshment even with people who aren't close family members. If there's an enmeshment void, they'll go outside the immediate family to fill it. They might also become enmeshed with a group, such as a church or other organization. Bill's story. After Bill was grown and out of the house, his parents started taking in homeless people they met through a church outreach program. At any get-together, Bill's parents would regale people with stories about the latest in the lives of the people they were helping. Although Bill's parents were very invested in talking about the latest person they had taken under their wings, they rarely mentioned anything Bill was involved in. They have an inconsistent sense of time. Although this is an extremely subtle point and easily overlooked, emotionally immature people often have a fragmented orientation to time, especially when they get emotional. We might assume that all adults experience time in the same way, using a kind of linear continuum that stretches seamlessly from the distant past into the foreseeable future. Not so with emotionally immature people. When they get emotionally aroused, moments exist in a kind of eternal now. This is one reason why the lives of emotionally immature people are often beset with problems. They don't see them coming. Ruled by desires of the moment, their experiences in time are frequently disconnected. When acting on their impulses, they don't use the past for guidance, and they don't anticipate the future. This disturbance in time continuity explains their inconsistencies and the unreflective way they handle relationship issues. Why a poor sense of time can look like emotional manipulation. Emotionally immature people may seem to be emotional manipulators, but actually they're just very opportunistic tacticians, pressing for whatever feels best at the time. They have no investment in being consistent, so they say whatever gives them an edge in the moment. They may be capable of strategic thinking in their work or in other pursuits, but when it comes to emotional situations, they go for the immediate advantage. Lying is a perfect example of a momentary win that feels good but is destructive to a relationship in the long run. How lacking a sense of time's continuity creates inconsistency. When stressed or emotionally aroused, immature people don't experience themselves as being embedded in the ongoing flow of time. They experience moments in time as separate, non-linear blips, like little lights randomly going on and off, with few linkages in time between one interaction and another. They act inconsistently as their consciousness hops from one experience to another. This is one reason why they're often indignant when you remind them of their past behavior. For them, the past is gone and has nothing to do with the present. Likewise, if you express caution about something in the future, they're likely to brush you off since the future isn't here yet. More emotionally mature people, on the other hand, experience time as a series of connected, self aware moments. If they regret something they did, it continues to travel through time with them, attached to them by an emotion like shame or guilt. If they think about doing something risky in the future, they feel linked to what might happen and may choose to do something different. The moments of their lives feel connected, each affecting the others and all affecting their relationships with other people. How an immature sense of time limits self reflection and accountability. Self reflection is the ability to analyze your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors over time. People who focus mostly on the present moment don't have enough of a time perspective to engage in self reflection. Instead, with each new moment, they leave their past behind, freeing them from any sense of responsibility for their actions. Therefore, when someone feels hurt by something they did in the past, they tend to accuse the person of dwelling on the past for no good reason. They don't understand why others can't just forgive, forget, and move on. Because of their limited sense of the continuity of time, they don't understand that it takes time to heal from a betrayal. You can see how hard accountability would be for these people. It's a flimsy concept for those who don't feel a temporal connection between their actions and future consequences. As a result, their natural style is to promise something, not to do it, apologize perfunctorily, and then resent people if they keep bringing it up. You may wonder why a person would develop such an unreliable sense of time, being blind to their own inconsistencies and unable to observe their own behavior. It has to do with their lack of self development and poor personality integration, along with their tendency toward extremely concrete, literal thinking. Because they don't have an ongoing, continuous self as the organizing center of their personality, emotions or stress can put them in a childlike mentality in which moments in time float separately. Summary. Emotionally immature people have a poor sense of personal history and resist being accountable for their past actions or future consequences. Lacking a firm sense of self, they think family closeness means enmeshment, with people existing to mirror each other. Real communication is nearly impossible because of their poor empathy and rigid emphasis on roles. They neglect relationship repair and reciprocity and shirk the emotional work necessary to be sensitive to other people. Instead, they focus on whether others seem to make them look good or bad. Defending against anxiety trumps relating authentically to other people, including their children. In the next chapter, we'll take a look at some of the research on early mother-child attachment to see how these immature characteristics might arise. Then I'll discuss how this translates into 4 main types of emotionally immature parents. All right, that's all, y'all. Short video this week, finishing up chapter 3. Just sneak peek for next week. These are the 4 different emotionally immature parents. You might find your parent in here, yourself, or someone you know. I don't know if I already said it at the beginning of this video. I recorded 2 videos back to back. So check out our site, www.findingyourselfsatx.com. Penny or I would love to have a free initial consultation with you, free of charge. So all you're spending is an hour of your time. We'll be glad to do it though. And yeah, give us a call. We'll set something up. And otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. We'll continue on with chapter 4. We'll do the first 30 minutes of chapter 4 and then have a short video the week after. All right. Happy New Year to you guys. Hope to see you next year. Take care.